Right, welcome to week 2, day 4. We are today continuing on with learning about Python and learning about lambdas and list comprehension. So if you want to follow along in the README, it's going to be this README right here in day 4. I'm going to pull this over to the side and we're just going to pull up our VS Code. First, before I do this, I want to make sure everybody knows how to get from their terminal to starting a new VS Code session. Do we all remember how to do that? Actually, I'll close this out. I'm just going to go to my terminal. Um, so when I created a directory that I want to work in, first off, how do I see where I'm at in this terminal right now? Like, just look around and see what's in there.
LS.
All right, perfect. Okay, so we are the hotel evening and weekend course. So I'm going to go in there. I went in before asking y'all if you need to change directory. Okay, I'm going to look again. So I'm actually going to be using both these today. So I want to open hotel evening and weekend in my VS Code. How do I do that?
Code space dot the
What does the dot stand for?
present working directory.
Perfect. Right. I don't know why it does this every time. Maybe because I am working on a Windows machine, but I have the WSO installed. So okay, perfect. So I open it up. I'm in that hotel evening and weekend directory here, and I've got both another directory that we'll look at later and my file that I wanted. Awesome. I like to just reinforce these concepts as we're working through them. Let me pull this over off to the other screen so we don't have that. Okay, so today we're learning about lambdas list comprehensions, like I said. If you see in the README, it starts off kind of talking about different programming paradigms. This is kind of more on the theoretical side of programming. We have declarative and imperative paradigms. A lot of the stuff you've been learning up to now could be an imperative approach. What do these two things kind of mean? So if I'm telling my kids I want them to clean the room, a declarative way to do it would be telling them, hey, go clean your room. You know, tell them the task, they do it on their own, how they want to clean their room. So that's declarative coding. And oftentimes that's kind of what we want to lean towards because the computer is smart. We want the computer to do most of the work for us. We don't want to have to get down into the nitty gritty to, explain every single little detail. So we just want to give the computer a command, go do this for me, and it does all the behind the scenes work for us. So that's declarative coding. Imperative is where when I want them to clean the room, I tell them, okay, I want you to walk in your door, look down, see that toy on the floor, pick it up, put it on this shelf over here. It's a little more descriptive of how you want them to get to that end result. So if again, if you're looking in the README, if we want to go ahead and make a list of doubled values, you'd see in imperative coding something that looks like this. I haven't defined numbers yet, that's why it has this. But we'd take in, here, let me just grab it so we don't have that squiggly line. We take in this list of numbers and we explicitly tell it what to do with this list of numbers. Can somebody tell me what this is doing here? Just walk me through what this code is telling me. Not Cisco. Like what's happening with this list of numbers? So numbers is going to be right here. So for number in numbers, doing this.
It's going to create a new array with every integer and nums doubled.
Okay, and how is it doing that?
Uh, well, is it doing it twice? Once with the declaration of the variable num equals none times 2, and then also double dot append? Isn't
So it's not doing it twice, but you are on the right track. That is doing it right here. This doubled is our empty list that we have right here.
oh
So what it's doing is it's iterating through for every number. So for every one of these integers in our number list. So it's going to go through each time. It's going to stop at this first one and say, okay, we're going to take that number and we're going to multiply it by 2. And then we're going to go ahead and throw that into our doubled list. And it just keeps going through that. It's telling it explicitly, go through each one. It's this loop and do this for every single number and then throw every single number into this. So that's imperative coding, getting through and telling it exactly what to do to everything one step at a time. If we want to do declarative coding, looks just like this. It's one line, very simple, very quick, easy command here, but it's doing the same thing. It's now, instead of doing this loop and having all these lines of code, it's just saying, go ahead and take a number times 2 for every number in this list. So definitely cleaner code. Sometimes might not be as readable depending on how wordy this little fancy command gets. There's always pros and cons to each one of these methods. And we are going to look at today how to kind of do a more declarative approach to our programming. So up till now, y'all have probably done a lot of for loops, a lot of if-thens, that sort of thing. But now we're going to try to make it a little more simple and clean looking, one-liners, so you can look really cool at the job. But then they might tell you to do it the long imperative way anyways. So does anybody remember, have you learned about arrow functions in JavaScript?
Yes.
Okay, so what does an arrow function look like? How do we write an arrow function?
Equal, it might be better to type it in. Equals arrow, and then you put your arguments in parentheses after that.
So we're getting there. It's close. We do definitely have this arrow. In JavaScript, we need to go ahead and assign this to a variable, this arrow function, so that we can call it. So we're going to define it with a const so that it can't be changed, that this arrow function will be immutable, can't change it again. We're going to call it my function. And then we're going to, since we're assigning it to, and of course it's going to yell at me because we're in a Python file, right? So it's not understanding I'm writing JavaScript. So an arrow function, we are defining a variable here, a constant variable, and that's going to equal some sort of argument we're throwing in, our argument, our parameters, and then this is going to be what we do to that argument. So that's the rough outline of how an arrow function works. Python decided it wanted to do the same thing. It wanted something easy like this, where you can just shoot over a fat arrow and say, do this to this argument here. So in Python, we will also give it a name, a function. And we are going to use lambda. So fat arrow function equals lambda in Python. This is where we're going to have our argument right away. And then instead of an arrow, a fat arrow, we just use a colon. And then this is where we're going to provide the expression or what we're going to do to our argument. So very similar in layout, except we need to use the keyword lambda. That's the trigger that we're going to be doing a fat arrow function in Python. So let's look a little more into this. Let's see. Trying to find good examples in the README. Okay, so one very simple way to do this. And again, you don't have to assign it to a variable, but it just helps with calling it in future instances in your code. So one of the examples just starts off with the lambda, which is fine. Yeah, we're gonna use best practice here, and we're gonna keep it as taught, assigning it to a variable. Okay, so we're gonna do a new function. This one, I want to add all the values together that I'm going to be throwing in. So we will, again, use our keyword here, lambda. That's what we have to start off with all the time. Make sure that's in there. Our arguments. If I want to add 3 numbers together, I'm going to pass in 3 integers. What are my arguments then for this function? Can I just do one thing here? Think of this like I'm writing, let's see. Again, my syntax is going to be crazy while I'm figuring out. So, okay, this is the argument right here. So if I want to add 3 numbers together in a function, can I just pass in one argument?
No, you need 3.
Yeah, I would need to do 3. So I need to, like this, I need to pass in 3 different values, and then we can do stuff with them in our function. So we'll do the same in our lambda. I'm going to pass in 3 different values. Okay, so this is my argument I'm passing into the function. Now, the second half here is what I want to do with them. So down here, we do something like, you know, D equals A plus B plus C. And then, why is my stuff being weird? Probably because I don't know what this. Let me bear with me while I get my Python together. It's been a minute since I've written Python functions. What's going
It,
on here? Do y'all
it,
see?
yeah, it may be. So I've had the
Oh, here.
same situation. Yeah, it's the indentation it's complaining about.
No.
That's typically where it,
Well, it's telling me, thankfully, handy little hover here is telling me it's
new
not
function is not
defined.
defined. Yeah.
So,
On line 4, can you just continue that line and put in the activity that you want? Like, let's say if you just wanted to add those, can you just put A plus B plus C and then pass in some values on line 6?
so this is probably confusing. This is a example of how we would write it if we weren't doing a lambda. So I'm kind of trying to show like the comparison between the two. My syntax is wrong here. Let me just pull it up really fast. Oh, okay, duh. We need to define. That's it. That's all I was complaining about. So in order to define a new function in Python, we need to add this step. So if I was doing this, what we're trying to accomplish here with a lambda in the long form, basically, I'm going to call it long form imperative coding. This is what this function might look like. I'm passing in 3 things and I'm adding them together, then I'm returning that value. But we don't want to do that. We want to save space. We want to make it a one-liner. So that's why we are working on this. But you were right on what we're doing with this. So we talked about this first part here is our argument for this function. The second part is going to be our expression or what we're doing in the function. So we want to add these all together. We'll just throw in A plus B plus C. So this is going to work the exact same as this function does here, without all the extra jargon. Okay, pause and see, are we following? Seem pretty simple. So you might actually like doing these better. Lambdas can be restricting though, because they can only be one line. You can only have a one line lambda expression here. So if it got pretty long and you're doing a lot of things, if this this function, this expression at the end here starts getting very lengthy, it might be better to just switch to the regular way you would define this function. Okay. Let's look at some more usages of lambda to make sure we're kind of understanding how this gets set up. Looking at the README tuples, this got confusing, and it might get confusing for y'all too. So we're going to do different examples. Creating these random tuples and then sorting them. They're good to kind of look at and work through on your own. This is, here, I'll pull over so you can see what I'm looking at if you don't have it up. These two, they're very wordy. So we're going to look at more clear examples than this, but basically it's creating random tuples and then sorting them. Looks like by the beginning, the first item in the tuple. This one is going to be sorting by the second element. The lambda is here. Because there's no easy way to sort on the second item in a tuple. So we had to do kind of a lambda expression in order to do that. But again, look at that on your own and try to understand it, but I don't think you'll come across too many cases of doing that. So I've got some other examples. Some real world examples here. We're going to leave this up so we can have it as an idea. I'm going to comment it out though, so we don't mess up anything we're doing. Okay, so let's say we are working with API data. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry, we are going to learn about that later in this course. Most API data comes back in like JSON format, which is key value pairs, or a dictionary. So this might be something you get back, and we see this is a dictionary, correct? A dictionary is often with a key in the beginning here, and then a value afterwards. Then we see we have another key and another value. So a lot of key value pairs making up one whole item in our dictionary. Okay, so what this looks like, we're getting a list of users, right? We have a dictionary list of users. All of them have a name and an age. I want to be able to sort them. So this is kind of like the tuple thing, not really, but I want to sort them by their age. So let's see how we can work this out. Does anybody know off the top of their head what's a good Python function, feature, built-in thing that I can use to sort values?
Isn't just values? Isn't that a loop in itself? A keyword or something like that?
Values, let's see. Doesn't come up as anything when I type it. Maybe if I, no. So
And
I'm not looking for that.
For a list, you could put sort in front of it.
So as
Sorted, yeah.
yeah, thank you, VS Code. You're so helpful. So there is a sorted function that is built into Python that we can use. And as we hover over it, we can see sorted takes in an iterable and a key and returns to us a new list. And we can see this is a list, right? It's surrounded by these square brackets. So this is a list, an iterable. that we can use. So we can use sorted on this. Okay, so that's the route I'm gonna go. I want to use sorted. But as we were kind of talking about a bit ago, we can give a key to sort on. Typically it sorts on the first value automatically, which is kind of difficult in this situation. I mean, everything's named right off the bat, so it probably wouldn't sort very well. I don't know how that'll work. So let's go ahead and write our lambda. Before we write a new function, let's go ahead and give it a name. So we're gonna name this sorted users, okay? And we know we want to sort this list or this dictionary. So the first thing we pass in is an iterable. What does an iterable mean?
An object that can be iterated over.
Okay, so what are some examples of some iterables in Python?
An array.
An array?
list.
List, yep. That's okay, we work in JavaScript too. Joe, I don't want to pick on you, but I'm going to. What's another example of an iterable?
I don't know. I was
Okay,
gonna say list too, so yeah, I don't know.
okay. Well, what are we working with here?
Our
I guess
dictionary.
a dictionary. Yep. So a
So,
dictionary.
so dictionary, you said before this is a list, so like are
Yeah,
those
I might
terms
have.
used sometimes interchangeably?
Let me look at my syntax here because now that after I said that, I'm like, wait, a dictionary. Okay. So that is, that is a list of dictionary items. A dictionary is this curly bracket. So I didn't misspeak there. We're not using a dictionary. I mean, we're using dictionaries within a list here.
Okay.
And that's what makes it kind of hard to sort on this because the sorting by dictionary items within a list is a little more tricky. But good question there because I was even questioning that myself. I'm like, wait. So yes, a dictionary though is another iterable we can go through. Also a string. You might not think that a string is an iterable, but it is. You can go ahead and do a for loop through a string. So all those are things we can pass in. Thankfully, we have a list, which we know is definitely an iterable. So let's pass that in. We're going to give it users. That's our first iterable. Now, the second thing, again, I forgot what else we can pass in. So I'm going to hover over and see. The second thing we can pass in, we see iterable, we got that, and a key. So the key is what we're going to sort on, basically. What do I want to sort on? Let's go ahead and say I want to sort on age. So that's the second item in this dictionary. How can I define? So if I just threw in, okay, so how do I grab an item in a dictionary? Do we remember how to do that? Let's start that. Because I want to grab one of these key value pairs in the dictionary. I want to grab the value of age.
Square brackets, age in double quotes, right beside users. So you take the comma, take the comma out. Oh, well, yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Yep, because we this one's our list
Right.
we're passing in, so we're gonna
Right.
leave that. Good. And then yes, this would be how I would target age.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if this would just work. Should be, oh, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if that just works. I was gonna do a lambda to grab this. Hang on. Let's print it and see. We don't know what's going on in our thing. Let's go ahead and just print and see what it returns. So we're gonna print our sorted users. I can type this morning. Okay,
Mm-mm.
let's get our new terminal up. And I'm just gonna push play. No. Okay, so it's not working. That's why I can't do it like that. It says list indices must be integers or slices, not a string.
Mm.
Okay, so it's not liking this key that I'm trying to do.
Would you use you wouldn't use the index for this?
Um, okay, now I'm trying to wonder why I did this.
That
Hang
was
on.
a t-
Oh my gosh, we have to, I wonder if we have to do key equals. Let's try again. Probably not. Nope. So I need to look into why it can't target like this. Came up with the
Can you Slack that code or just drop it into the Zoom real quick?
I was kind of thinking along the same lines as Joe, when we talk about index, because I think in this particular case, because you have a list and you have dictionary items, maybe you would have to index the first item in your list, and then within that list, index the age, which might be position 1.
So we're going to try to do that instead.
I think that might call the first item in users, which is that thing. So,
Yes. Yep. By doing this, it's going to call, well, the first line. So that number one line's actually this, because 0 is what starts our list. So
You-
oh, go ahead.
you were on the right path. So you wanted to use so you got that right. You want to use key lambda and then X colon XH in brackets, in square brackets.
Right. So this is what I'm going to make this even more, because X, I don't know what X means. Let's get in the habit. So I know I use it for examples. Let's get in the habit of making meaningful variable names so that when somebody comes in afterwards and looks at this, they're like, what the heck is X? This is user. So each user in this list of users, we're going to grab this H value.
Yeah.
And that is a lambda expression because we are, let's see, passing in this dictionary. Oh my gosh, okay, help me out here, Cisco. How do I want to explain this?
You're on your own. No, I'll just play. So let's see. I was just walking through it. I was walking along with you on my VS Code. So I was trying to figure it out. This is
You know what? Okay, hang on. This is where we're gonna start. So we all know Chat GPT is a real thing right now that everybody is so used to using. And but we discourage it for getting solutions. However, if you see a solution you don't understand or something that already exists, really great at just going ahead and running some ideas through. So let me get a new thing up here. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it. Oh, where are you? Sorry, I have so many things on my other screen here. Okay, so I am just going to copy this whole thing. And I'm just going to throw in, can you walk me through this and just give it to it. So this is a good learning tool if you don't understand something you see, but definitely don't go to it for a solution because you won't understand what it's giving you. Okay, so it's assuming it's a list of dictionaries, correct, where the age is a key like this. Returns a new sorted list, leaving the original one unchanged.
No, there it is right there for each user in the list. It extracts the age. So basically, I get that it's using user's age as the key. So it's saving or it's putting it into key, and with sorted, it's doing the list and the key. As the Lambda function goes into it, it's just returning each age from the dictionary and sorting it by that. That's the only thing I could get from it.
Yep, that's what it's doing. I want to know exactly how it's doing that, so I'm like getting more prompts here because I want to see how it's doing this. So sorted doesn't just blindly compare elements. If you give a key, it needs to transform each item before comparison. Okay, so that makes sense. So it needs to see every item that you're going to be comparing. So this would be, let's see. So internally, it's kind of like for every user, let's see, decorated sort. Geez. Okay. Okay, that's too difficult, chat. If we're coming to you to ask on a simple thing. Oh, look at this. Okay, this is cool. So when it comes to this sorted, it's going like this. This lambda is returning the value of the age. So now our sorted function can see all these values and go ahead and do the sort. If we just give it age, I guess, or try to pull the value of age, it's not going to grab every single dictionary item. So that's why we're doing a lambda there. That was kind of a tricky example, not gonna lie.
Yes, it was.
Like I knew what it was doing, but I realized I couldn't explain it. So that's why we're doing this transformation. We're going through and each item in this list, we are grabbing that age value for. Okay. Next one will be way easier to understand and follow, promise. So we're gonna, okay, any questions on that before we move on? Strike this from our memory. Don't worry if you don't understand lambdas that well. This next one should be a bit better. Okay, something you definitely will come to experience on your job is getting logs. We have CSV files full of logs all over at my work. So when something goes wrong, a lot of times we'll have logging, and sometimes you have to go into the logs and find something you're looking for. Most of the time, thankfully, you have some helper tool like Splunk or something that you can use to query your logs and watches it for you. But let's say I now see another list of logs, log information on this system I'm working on. Something happened to it. I want to find only errors because info and warning isn't really a big deal. Computers will still run with info and warnings, but errors will shut something down really quickly. Those are like hard stops. So for this, I want to filter out only error logs. So another built-in Python function we can use. Let's start there. I want to filter out error logs. So let's just see if there's oh, look, there's a filter. Built-in filter Python feature here. Cool. So we're going to use this. We're going to look at this. So filter looks like takes in an iterable again. Awesome. Doesn't show me what else it takes in. That is, I wish I could see more. Okay, well, we'll just read it. So a function or none and an iterable. Okay, so it takes in a function. Hey, we know functions. We're doing lambda functions right now. So we can pass in a function and an iterable object, which will be our list. Okay, cool. Because I don't want to just filter the list. It's not going to work. I need to tell it kind of what to filter on. So I want to filter on logs that start with error. So let's see how to do that. Okay, we're going to start again. We're going to define this function we're doing right now. Okay, so pseudocoding wise, how would what am I looking for? I've kind of been saying it. What should I do with this filter? What are we filtering on? What am I looking for?
Are you filtering through the log?
I'm filtering through the logs, yes. And then what kind of key information am I looking for when I'm filtering through the logs? If I'm just scanning this visually, what am I looking for?
The errors,
The
filter
errors.
error.
Yep, so I am looking through this list, and in each list item, I'm trying to look for something that starts with error. So we can pass in a function that kind of identifies things that start with error, which we'll do with our lambda. So let's do that. We want to take in an item in this list. We want to take in a log item because it's going to apply this function to each item in this list. So I'm going to take the log item. Well, let's name it item so we don't get confused. It's not the whole. And I am looking for something that starts with error, right? So we want to, okay, you might not know that this is a thing, but if I just start typing starts, well, okay, that doesn't work. I have to do it. Let's do our log item. Won't let me. This is a thing. This is called a method. It's something that transforms or works on what we've done here. Have we learned about these? Doing the dot something. Okay, so this works a little different than our filter. Our filter takes in arguments, but this kind of function gets tagged on the end of something and manipulates this item right here. So there's such a thing as starts with, which is handy.
Yes. So are you able to cast your log item as a string? Because you're gonna be you have a list, I'm sorry, you have a list of strings. So for Python, to get the Python methods for strings, is it possible to use a casting within a Lambda function, or is it that
Um,
may?
so you're meaning like, because this is already going to be a string, this each
Hmm.
item?
Hmm.
Are you meaning like if it wasn't a
But how,
string?
yeah, so how do you get, so is there a way to get the Lambda function? So whatever variable you use, that you want to, you know, yeah, yeah. So in order to get those methods for string that you're looking for, that's like starts with, dot starts with, because I
Mhm.
notice it doesn't show up. It doesn't show up when you hover over it, right? It doesn't give you any,
Yeah.
uh, you know, that's, I was just wondering if there's a way to actually get those, depending on the data type that you're working with, is there a way to get the methods for that data type to pop up in the Lambda function?
I'm not
Does
sure. That
that
would
make
be,
sense? Yeah.
yeah, I'd have to look for that, because I'm kind of surprised it didn't come
Yeah.
up with anything, but oh,
Start with an S.
what was that, Nicole? Sorry.
It's on the, it starts with an S at the end and not start.
Is it?
It
Start.
should, because off of the list here, it starts with parentheses, returns true if the string starts with a specified value.
Oh, okay. What list are you looking at?
And W3 schools under
Okay.
Python.
Perfect. Good resource. I'd have to figure out if there's a way in VS Code to come up with all the methods that can, is that kind of what you're looking for? Like if I have a string, all the methods that I could use to
Right. I'm
manipulate.
right. Yeah. I'm typing it in as well here. See if I can get it to pop up while you're doing it. So.
Okay, so yes, I will continue on this might be something I pull up afterwards to see how we can do that. Again, I'm sorry, I don't work in Python, so all these like handy dandy tricks that some people might know, I do not. But we can figure it out for sure. So let's pick back up with this filter. Again, I know it's kind of hard to do these kinds of, I guess, manipulations. Like, who would have known there's a starts with? How do I know that? Like, I don't know any of these methods built into Python off the top of my head, but that's why we kind of pseudocode and figure out what we're going to do. And then you go research. So I'm like, how can I find what a string starts with in Python? You can literally just type that in and it'll pop up, with these methods. So if I had pseudocoded this, I'd say, okay, I want to go through each log item and then I want to return only the log items that start with error. And then I'd go Google that and find it. And then they'd be like, oh, hey, in Python, there's a starts with method you can use on a string that you can pass in what you're looking for. So that is why pseudocoding is important. It just takes some digging. You gotta figure out what you want to do before you figure out how you want to do it. But the what is really important. Okay, so filter, what does this take in again? A function and an interval. Okay, so we did our lambda function that's going to go through and look at the log item and return to us log items that start with error. And that's what I want to do. And I want it to do this function on all of my logs. So we're going to pass in logs. So now this function is going to go through all of these logs and only basically keep the ones that meet this expression right here. So it's kind of like an if almost. Let's save that and see if it works. Of course, I would have to print it. To see anything, let me clear the terminal so it's a little bit easier. We didn't even do sorted to see, oh my gosh. Let's go back and, why are you being weird? Print. What am I missing? Let's maybe just not try printing that. Let's just try printing error filter since we defined it right there. I should be able to just pull down here and try running it again. Okay, well, it gave us an object. Let's see, how can I? Okay, so if I get an object, this is kind of weird, right? Do we know about objects yet? I don't think we do. We're going to start learning about that more with object-oriented programming when we start learning about classes and how to set up those in Python. So this is not readable, but I can go ahead and make it readable by just putting it in a list. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's see if that works. There we go. So it took this thing and just put it in a list for me, and it works now. And it gave me, went through each one, did this lambda function on each line, and just returned to me the ones that start with error. All right, any questions with lambdas so far? Let's make sure our sorted users works. We didn't ever test that. Okay, that worked. Pull that up, we can see it's sorted from ascending age. You could probably come in and manipulate this to do some descending as well. Maybe reverse. I'd have to look more into that. So this is all we're going to spend on lambdas today. Lambdas are kind of weird. How are we feeling about lambdas? Don't worry if it's still meh. Just kind of an exposure thing here and something to keep in mind as an option for you to be able to do. So now we're going to go into something that you will actually use a lot more, and that's list comprehension. So we have, I'm going to open up this image here from the README so you can see. So we kind of got exposed to this a little earlier, and we were going to go more into it now, but list comprehension is basically taking an expression or like something we want to do to this item for every item in an iterable. So with our if loops or our for loops I'm thinking of, we're going back, do I still have no, I don't have my example of imperative coding. Let me throw that up again real quick. So our first example when we were learning about is this. For every number in numbers, we're going to multiply it by 2 and append it to a new list. We can do this way easier with list comprehension because we just saw that list comprehension is defined as an expression or something we want to do to our list that will get applied for every item in that list. So usually it is, again, let's see, let's come down here. I don't want y'all to get confused, but so we want to, our pseudocode is double every number for each number in the list. That is list comprehension. We're going to double every number for each item in the list. So we can do that like this. We're going to comment this out. So, shoot, working in my other language. Double every number. Okay, so how do I double a number? Super easy. Let's just do number times 2. Okay, number times 2. We want to do that for each number in nums. Probably need to put this in parentheses if we have a longer expression. Let's see how this works. No, I'm going to have to define this. That's what we're going to be missing. Doesn't hurt to put in parentheses. So let's do doubled 2. Why is this being weird? That's not it. Double 2 equals. Oh, okay. List comprehension. Very important thing that I left out is
brackets.
Yep, square brackets. We see in that again, this picture. Square bracket, an expression for an item in an iterable square bracket. That's why we have that nice picture. So where this function is going to be our expression, which is that double every number for each number in numbers. Much cleaner way to write this, right? And kind of how you would describe it in real life. Like this, you're not going to say, I'm going to iterate through each number and then multiply it by 2 and then append it. You just say, I want to double every number for each number in this. So let's go ahead and print doubled 2 and see what that gives us. It runs here. There, perfect. So it goes through the list and it does this expression for each item in that list. Example, we can also make, so list comprehension gives you a copy of this list. So this, if I print numbers, numbers will stay the same. It's not touching this. It's looking at it, but it's making a new one and assigning it to this variable. So we'll run again. See, here we have our doubled 2, our list comprehension made us a new list, but it left our first list alone. So this is helpful for comparisons. First example in our README, you can just make a direct copy as well. So here we have an original list. The copy of this list is going to be, just give me that number. I'm not doing anything to it. I just want that number for every number in this original list. And then I don't know why it's printing ID. Interesting. I guess just to show they're two separate lists, print the ID to show you that it is just a copy because they're two different IDs on these lists. Let me comment. And now we have double commented out. It's fine. Okay. So now again, what if we only want to copy certain values? So we have a list of numbers. What if now we just want to get every even number and make a new list? So our filtered list will equal, again, list comprehension in square brackets. So what's the expression here? This is kind of tricky. So we can do an expression for every item in the list, but I want to return even numbers. Am I manipulating anything in this list then? If I only want to return even numbers? No, I'm not changing any values in this list. So I should not have an expression here because I don't want to change any of these numbers. I want that number. That's what I want back, okay? So no expression. We're not doing anything to those numbers. We're not doubling, so I want that number. 4 numbers in original list, but only if they are even, which we know even is modulus 2. Modulus is a very fun, random thing. Can't wrap my head around, but it's divisible by 2 equals 0. So this expression right here is our handy go-to if we want to find even numbers. So we can just throw an if statement on the end of our list comprehension. We can manipulate items in the list and do an if on them as well to filter out. But for this example, we just wanted every even number in this list if they meet this criteria. I don't know about you, but this is much easier than the Lambda to work with the list. Probably could filter out the logs a little bit easier that way too. Let's go ahead and print this just to make sure that it looks great. Promise we're almost done with the lecture. There we go. We can see proof. Gave us just 2 and 4. Awesome. Okay. There's a few more examples in the README that you can look at too with 2D arrays and dictionaries. I, again, am going to do some real world examples. So once again, this is kind of like we did earlier where we had a list of log items, and this is another list of dictionaries. Okay, this is going to be a very common thing you'll see as you get through the course here and working with APIs. So I've got posts. These are going to be like blog posts, I guess, or posts of titles in a blog, let's say. And it's giving me a name of a book and if it's published or not. So I want to go through this list and I want to just return a new list. Art, you have a question?
Yes. I think it was yesterday, the day before, we went through a function that was actually, I think it was filter.
Mhm.
So it's kind of all kind of mushing together for me. Is your example of filtering on line 47 just another way of filtering a list? And so we have the option of doing it this simple way or doing a filter version. So it's just an option.
Yep. This is another, we're going to show you so many ways to do the same thing, and it's up to y'all to choose what you feel most comfortable with. I can't think off the top of my head where doing list comprehension wouldn't work and you would need to use filtered or filter. But there might be some cases that you come across where you just cannot make it work doing a list comprehension. You might have to do something else. So that's why we show a few different ways. I can try to find some examples later on where you'd use one versus the other. And I can definitely do that after lecture and get you those specifics, but that's a great question. My advice is try it. If it doesn't work, like try it the way you're most comfortable with. If it doesn't work, then start looking at the other ways you've learned to manipulate. So hopefully that answers it. List comprehension for me is definitely a lot easier to understand than some of the higher order functions for sure. Okay, so continuing on, any other questions before I continue on with this? Okay. So I want to filter through this and I just want to make a new list of published titles. So I don't want any unpublished, I just want published. So we're going to do a published list is going to equal oh, because I have it separated. Jeez. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Okay, so how can I do this now? If I want to, okay, let me get it written up here so we have something easy to look at. In list comprehension, we do an expression that not changes, maybe doesn't always have to change. Well, that manipulates an item, for item, and list. And then we have our little optional if we want. So let's think about what we want here. We want to get the list. I just want the name of the books that are published. Okay. So I don't want the whole thing. I just want the titles of books that are published. So let's do a list comprehension for that. So this expression that manipulates an item, this kind of, it's hard. That's not exactly what it is either. This is what I want to return in my new list. we can also apply an expression to it. Remember, we talked about with our copy, or let's see, where was it? Here it is, our even numbers. We didn't want to change how these values were presented. That's why we just put the number. So if I were to just do like, just give me the item or item in posts. What would this give me? Nicole, see you thinking hard. I want you to take a stab at this. If I'm just returning each item for the item in this post list, what is it going to return?
Is it just going to return? It's going to return the items.
And what is the items here in this list?
The title. It's going to return that dictionary at the top, right?
Correct. Each item in this list is a dictionary. I don't want all that. I don't want the whole dictionary. I just want the title of the books. So if I just want the title, what should I be returning here?
Is it going to be like a post and then the brackets for the key title?
Yes, so that would be how, let's see, if we did posts and then we wanted to, the brackets grab the key title, the brackets with the or the what is it, the square, I forget what those are called, these with title in it will give us the value of that key, right? So that's correct, but we don't want to do it against all of posts. We just want each item's title, right?
Mhm.
So posts is the whole list. So if I do posts, I just did posts title, that's not going to give me what I want because that's this whole list. So what am I looking to grab the title of? So we said each of these is an item in the dictionary, right?
You want to put the brackets on the item itself, item brackets title.
Correct. So each item in this dictionary, so the item is this, and we want to grab the value for title, which will return this whole thing, will return just this right there, right? It's going to give us the value for that key. And we want to do that for each item in this list. Cool, but I don't want to return every item in this list. I just want the titles of published books. So what can I throw in here now? Let's see. Such a small class to like, I try to mix it up and not call on the same people every time. Art, are you there? I'm sorry to pick on you.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
This is a little bit more confusing, because you're not just pulling out an item, but you're actually pulling out like the results. So it's
Mhm.
throwing.
So let's walk through it. Okay, so we understand that each of these are dictionaries. Each of these items are dictionaries. And we just wanted the title, so we know to grab the value of a dictionary item. We did this. But now, so this will return every title that we have in this list. But I just want to return those that are published. So let's look back at our filtering when we were like, okay, I wanted all the even numbers. So I wanted those numbers, but only if they were even. So what can we do to this? I want to get the titles, but only if they are published. How can I do that?
Well, okay, you could put an if statement, but I guess just talking in plain English, just like, if the results of this key or the value of this key is true, something like that.
Exactly. Okay, so how do we grab the value of our published key for each item in this list?
Can you just use value if value equals true?
So we kind of did it here where we grabbed the value of each title in this list by doing the item, which is each line, which is our dictionary, and then the title key.
Oh, I see. So
So
we would use published, right?
correct. So we'll do our item again to get the basically the line item we're on, our dictionary we're working with, and we want to grab the value of published. So this will grab the values. What do we want it? So we want it if published is what?
Equals true.
Okay, so we can do equals true. But what happens if I just leave it like this? If I just say if item published,
That'll pretty much do the same thing, because it is true. It's if there wasn't a if the item didn't have a value, it would be false. It's considered false, and as long as items have a value, they're all considered true. So
yes. But also one step further, if we notice these are in blue, so these are Booleans right here. So the value of published is going to be either true or false. So when we say if item published, so this is saying if this is true, then do something. But we don't have to say then do something because we already told it in the beginning. We're like, do this if this is true. So if published is true, which look, we get values here. If it's true, go ahead and do this. But if you want to and you feel better about it, you can definitely put, is it double? Yeah, it is true. No harm in doing that. It'll do the same thing.
Right.
But it's cleaner also to just leave it. Okay, so now this should give us the titles for each item in this dictionary, or in list, sorry, each item in this list, if it's published, if it's true. Let's go ahead and print it and see. Do I have, yep, this will mess it up. Awesome. I should have cleared it out so you can see if y'all can't see, but so there should have been 2 intro to JavaScript and mastering Python, and that is indeed what we have in our new list that gets produced with our list comprehension. Awesome. One more example, and then we will go through our challenges for the day. Okay, so now I'm going to be given a long list of words here.
I have a stupid question here.
No stupid questions.
I'm just like not fully tracking. So like when you're putting item, so in line 58, publish list equals item title. Is each line there in the dictionary, are those items that are, is that like a Python term, like key term, or like a protected word or something like that? Or is that something we're just declaring on its own? Or is like Python know like every single line, like 53, 54, 55, those are all known as items, so it knows to pull those?
Yeah,
Does
great.
that question make sense?
Yes, great question. This word right here is just, it's whatever we want it to be. So list comprehension, the way it works is it understands this structure that we provide in these brackets. It understands that it's going to iterate through each thing. We just give it the name item so that we can keep track. But I could have said, let's see, I could call this book for each book in posts. The only thing that is specific to our list here is the name of the list, the name of the iterable you're going through. That has to match. But Python just knows this. You're kind of declaring it here for each book in this list or iterable. So that's a good question. This word can be anything you want and should reflect kind of what you're working in. That's why we use numbers up here. Does that answer the question or?
Yeah, I think so. So basically, anytime we have a dictionary like that and we're writing this function, essentially, it's just going down every single step of the way, like each line item, essentially.
Yes, correct. Separated by comma because this is a list still.
Yep.
All these are lists that we're working with. I just happen to have a list of dictionaries here to make it a little more difficult. We've been working with lists and numbers, so it just knows to go through each item in our list when we're doing this comprehension. And our items here are these big long dictionaries because list items don't have to be just one tiny little thing. You can have an item that's like another list of dictionary. I can make a list here. You can have a list of lists of dictionaries underneath that list too. So you can nest deep. Okay, so we're good. We're all clear on that, but that is a great question because I had the same kind of thing when I was starting out. How do you name these things? But that doesn't matter. It just knows. It's smart. Same with when we do our loops, we also just give it a random name in our loops as well, right? For an item in our list. So that's kind of what we're doing here. All right, last example of the day. Let me get this list of words here. Oh gosh. Put it all together to write. Okay, so we have words equals this list. Okay. And now I want to have, let's see. Let's name a keyword. I'm going to set this up here. I'm going to have our keyword be drawer. Oops. I can't see. Stupid cursor. Drawer. Does it have where did that was weird. Okay. So essentially what I want to do is I'm going to write a function that has list comprehension in it. I want to be able to give this keyword and return the list of words that are the reverse of what I'm passing in. So if I'm giving it drawer, basically I want every word in this list that is the reverse of it, which is reward. So I am looking for the reverse of this word in this list of words. But I want to write a function that does this. So I can call this function on multiple lists and multiple keywords. Okay, so what's the first thing I should do if I'm making a function? We saw this at the very beginning of class, what I did not do and eventually was like, oh, I have to do that.
DEF.
Yes, let's define a function. Okay, let's give it a name. We're going to call this reversed twins. We're going to try to find the reversed words of our keyword. Okay. So if I'm going to pass in, I want to be able to give this function a word and a list of words. So what parameters, arguments should I have for my function? What should I be passing into it?
Can you just pass in your list directly? Just have words in there?
So I could pass it in directly, but I want to use this function for more than just this specific list. So I am going to make these just placeholders
Mhm.
that we'll define later when we're calling this function. But I know I want to, does anybody else want to give it a shot? What should I put here?
Well, typically I put in the data type. I give it some descriptive name for a data type that I want to use for that particular argument or parameter. So I would use something like list for the first one, and then target word, something like that. Or yeah, target value.
Okay, so then this right here, this function, I can pass in a list and a target word. So that should work because that's what I want to do. I want to be able to give this my word, whatever it may be. Let's say we don't even have these defined right now, and then a list. And I want to be able to compare that and only return out reversed words from that list. So we are passing in a list and a target word. And I said I want to make a new list, but only giving me the reverse of this keyword. So let's go ahead and use list comprehension for this. And I could, since list comprehension is typically a one-liner here, I can just return this and do my list comprehension here. If you get weird about doing a whole bunch of stuff after your return statement, feel free to go ahead and do reverse list equals, and then your list comprehension, and then return your reversed list. Okay. Dealer's choice. I don't care. I don't want to do everything in here and return the variable. I'm just going to make it easy and just do it all on this one line here. So I am going to return a new list based on some stuff we're doing. Okay. So let's think about this. In our list comprehension, our first step or our first item is basically what we're going to return in our new list. Okay. So do I want to manipulate anything in this words list we're going to be working with?
No, you're not going to be manipulating anything.
Correct, because I just want to return all the words that happen to be the reverse of what I've given it, basically. So don't want to manipulate it, right? I just want the word. So we're going to return the word for words in this list, right?
Mhm.
Word in our, but okay, so now I would like to just give it words, right? For word and words. But that is going to grab this list specifically, right? I don't want to do that. I want to grab whatever we're passing into this function. So what should I put here? What list am I providing this function? Pauses. Okay, so let's look at our parameters. These are what we're passing into our function, right? So these will hold our values. We have a list and we have a target word. So then are we looking in this for when we're doing our, word, return word, or are we going to be looking in this list?
We're going to be looking in the list.
Yep, we're going to be looking in this list, okay? Eventually, we will pass words in as the list, but not in our function. In our function, we just want to do this against the list we're passing in, okay? So we're doing word for word in this list if, because we have a stipulation, right?
Mhm.
What is my if here? In pseudocoding, what am I looking for? If
If it's the reverse of drawer.
Yes, correct. So if this word, so we'll just write it out in pseudocode now and fix it up. If that word is equal to the reverse of what? So we said drawer. So what is going to be drawer in our function here?
Keyword.
Keyword,
Target word.
Target word.
target word, yes. So eventually we'll pass this in as the value, but for now we're only looking at this down here, our function. So we've said that in our function, you will expect a target word. Okay, so we'll say if that's the reverse of our target word. Cool. So now that we have our little pseudocode here, this is not correct Python syntax. How do I figure out the reverse of a word? Does anybody know? I didn't know. I had to Google it.
Is just dot reverse.
Is that a thing? That is not what I came up. If word dot reverse equals target word. Let's try it. Because I don't know. And again, I'm not able to do is it reverse or reversed? I think I remember reverse too. Okay, so we'll try this. We'll see if that works, right? So if that word in that list reversed is equal to our target word that we'll be passing in. So can I run this right now and will this give me anything?
No,
No. Why not?
because you have.
Nope. Nope. Don't you tell me. Somebody else tell me.
No print statement.
There's no print statement. Okay. What happens? What is going to happen when I run this code? So,
Nothing. Right.
nothing. Right. Because why? Why is nothing going to happen? We're missing one big thing here. One huge thing.
Print statement.
Well, the print statement will help us see it. But what are we printing? Oh, not a capital P. What am I printing here?
Or are we not calling the function?
Yes, correct. We're not calling the function anywhere. So we could print it, but we don't have it defined or called anywhere. So let's go ahead and call this function reverse twins. So now, thank you. VS Code, you're showing me this function that I defined up above takes a list and a target word. So now we actually have a list defined up here. Perfect. Let's pass in our list of words. And then a target word, now it's expecting, is our keyword we defined up there. All right, so there we go. Called the function with the two parameters that we've defined here as arguments, and we're printing it. Let's see if it works, because I think you're right, there's a reverse or a reversed, but I can't remember. No. So string object has no attribute reverse. So there's probably a reverse on something else, like a list maybe, but I can't do that with a string.
So you're going to have to cast well, if you want to use that function, you have to cast the word with the list in front of it. So you have to do list parentheses over the word dot reverse.
Okay, we could do that, but we're starting to get a little verbose here. I want to keep it simple. Let's go ahead and go to Google. Let's just see how to reverse. See, I looked at it the other day. This is one of my reverse word in Python. Let's see, how to reverse a word or a string. Slicing. That looks good. Look, right here. This reverses a word for me. I'm actually just going to copy this and take it. We can also use reversed and join, which is, I think, what you were doing, right? maybe.
Something similar to that, yeah.
Yeah, like casting it to something, but it looks like this one you don't even have to. So it's reversed. And then you have to, reversed makes it a list, I bet, and then you have to join it after you reversed it. That's too difficult. Let's use slicing. Do we remember
Yeah,
slicing
Guillermo showed us that little trick yesterday or Thursday.
for reversing?
Yeah, that word. Yeah, the word
Yeah.
colon -1.
So now what is this doing? Do we remember how slicing works? Let's pull it out. I'm gonna put it in here. It's gonna be, actually, let me just pull it. Yeah. Why is it inserting now? Okay, maybe I fixed it. Yes, equal to target. And now it's gonna have all this extra. Okay, so let's look at slicing, a little review, and then after this we'll take a break. How does this work? What is this doing? What is each of these items in this bracket? Do we remember? So this -1, what is
That is the step, and I think the other ones are start and stop.
correct? Good, perfect. Since y'all learned this the other day, should still remember that for sure. So a start, stop, and the step. These colons here we're just going with the default. Okay, so we're not giving it values. We're just saying choose the default, which any other scenario, the default would be the beginning of the string and the end of the string. But because our stepping is backwards, -1, the default is the end of the string, and the end is the beginning. It's backwards. So, all right, handy dandy Google told me this is an easy way how to reverse my word, and then it doesn't have to do any joins or anything fancy afterwards, and it should just equal that keyword there. Okay, so we want to return the word in this list for each word in here if this thing reversed equals our target word. And again, we are using these argument names and then passing in variables we've defined that match those arguments. Okay, let's go ahead and print it. Oh, look at that, it worked. It's all the way on the bottom. Let me clear it and run it again so you can see better. But it gave us, I have 2 rewards in there, so it gave both those rewards from this list.
That's cool. I didn't, so yeah, so we initially learned that on list using it for a list. I didn't, it's cool that you can actually use it on a string as well. So I guess any iterable, anything that can be iterated through, you can use that little shortcut on. Yeah, the colon -1.
Oh, yes, yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Python, for having so many iterables that we can work with. All right, so this was all I was going to lecture on today. Any questions on this last example before I stop recording and we go over our assignments for the morning?
If I could just kind of just read this out,
Mhm.
I think that would be helpful for me anyways. So on line 67, we're saying give us a word for a word in our list. If the word is reversed and equals the target word, or no, not if it's reversed. Almost like if it equals a target word when reversed.
Correct. Yes. Yep. So we just want this word for it. This 4-word in list is just go through each word in this list and give us that word only if this word that we're on reversed is equal to our target. So that is correct. Do you need some more time to process or want to step through anything else? All right.
I took a screenshot. Thank you.
And I can probably make this into a GitHub repo and share it if you guys need. Let me stop recording and then we'll do some discussion on the rest of the morning here. Okay. Let's